A very good evening to all the history enthusiasts. Welcome back to the Itihasa Saptaha 4. This is our lecture number 3. And our resource person today is Dr. C.V. Patil, Deputy Superintending Archaeologist, retired, Archaeological Survey of India, Bengaluru, Karnataka. I had the pleasure of meeting sir at the Karnataka History Congress last month in Bengaluru, and it was indeed a wonderful interaction. So, sir, we are very happy that you accepted our invitation and joined us today here in this endeavor. Welcome you on behalf of the History Enthusiasts Core Committee, all our members of the group, and the audience. I also welcome our honorary president, Shri Nandan Shastri ji, who has joined us from Vadodara. And I also welcome my friend, co-host of this session, and founder vice president of the History Enthusiast, Ms. Nidhi Katti. I also welcome all our esteemed audience members who have joined us today. And I now request Ms. Nidhi Katti to introduce our resource person, and then the stage will be open for the lecture.
Thank you so much, Manali, for giving me this opportunity. So I take this privilege to introduce our today's resource person, C.B. Patil sir. Patil sir holds first class masters in ancient Indian history and epigraphy, and postgraduate diploma in archaeology. He completed his masters in 1975 and postgraduate diploma in archaeology in the year 1984. He joined the Archaeological Survey of India as a technical assistant in Mid Southern Circle at Bangalore in 1979, and he served in various capacities in Archaeological Survey of India, Directorate Office, and Delhi Circle at New Delhi before Superintendent as Deputy Superintending Archaeologist from Bangalore Circle. He worked in 2009. Patil sir has participated in excavations at Vadgaon, Madhavpur, Hampi, and Banahalli, Halebeedu, and Chitradurga in Karnataka, and Banawali in Haryana. He has visited Maldives, Spain, Singapore, and China on many archaeological missions. He is an authority on antiquarian legislations, which he teaches in the Institute of Archaeology, ASI, New Delhi. He has been Tagore National Scholar for researching on illicit trafficking of Indian cultural wealth, problems and challenges in the 21st century. This project was taken by him between the year 2015 to 2017. Besides more than 100 research papers, Patil sir has the following books in to his credits, such as Delhi, a biography, uh, 1997, and Remembering Stalwarts, biographical sketches of scholars from Archaeological Survey of India, 2014, New Facets of Indian Art, Architecture, and Epigraphy, essays in honor of Professor S.L. Shantakumari, and with S.V. Padiagr and V. Shivananda in 2020 it was done. Asian History and Indology, Asitayana, Commemoration volume of late Professor C. Mani, volume 1st and 3rd, with Kapil, Vatsyayan, and Ravindra Kumar. It was also done in 2020. And one more book which he has written is New Facets of Early Historical Archaeology and Buddhist Art and Architecture. This was on the honor of Dr. R.C. Agrawal with Vinay Kumar. It was done in 2022. It's a really honor to have sir on the platform of history enthusiasts. So we are very, very much excited to listen to his lecture. Over to you, sir. The stage is over to you.
Now I have to click this, or now I have to click.
Yes, sir.
You can change the slides from there itself, sir, or if you want, I can change it for you.
You change it from here. I will continue 1, 2, 3 like that. You change from
Okay,
here
sir.
only.
Okay, sir. Please start, sir. You can start the lecture.
Now it's okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No, it's not moving.
Sir, I am moving it. You can just
No,
tell me next.
no, you can instead of telling, can I move?
Yes, sir, you can. If you see on the screen, sir, where the PPT is showing, if you go there, it will show you options like slide one, and
Yeah,
then there
yeah.
are two arrow. Yes, sir. You can, and you
No,
can
okay,
also put
okay.
it on. Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. Now shall I start?
Please, sir. Yes.
Very warm good evening, my history enthusiast forum for its Itihasa Saptaha 4. And I really feel, honored for Dr. Shastri, Mamali, and Katti for having invited me to share my few thoughts about the heritage laws in India. And let me go straight to the subject. Let me speak few words about the heritage, about the Indian cultural heritage and the threats what it is facing. As you know all, ranking among the earliest civilizations of the world, India has produced rich harvests of cultural heritage throughout her long and checkered history. No wonder she has been home for umpteen tangible and intangible heritage spread across the country in the different geographical settings, climatic conditions, and environs. That is to say, from the monuments or the cultural heritage, from the glaciers of Kashmir to the Kanyakumari tip off, and then from Gujarat to Assam, you find varieties of the heritage, and each one has its own distinct characters. Unfortunately, it is facing every day one or the other kind of threat, risk, and peril for its survival. And these, if you look them in a broader perspectives, they can be divided into natural and man-made. The natural ones include like rain, forest, temperature, earthquake, and all that. And the man-made is usually the war and aftermath, urbanization, and the encroachments, and these things are there which actually cause the threats to our heritage. Among these, vandalism, theft, treasure hunting, illicit trade and trafficking are invading the cultural property. All these threats related to each one of the act, that is for treasure trove, for the antiquities and the monuments, I have made a small graphic presentation, that is vandalism of monuments. See, the vandalism of monuments on the monuments and archaeological sites goes well with the vandalism, that is wanton destruction, urbanization, that is the high rise building or encroachments, illegal excavation, then treasure hunting, mining, quarrying, blasting, pollution, then misuse of the monument, scribing the names on the monuments, smearing the images with oily substance, then scratching the pillars and sculptures. These threats, either individually or collectively, they harm our heritage. Then coming to the destruction of treasure trove finds. As you know, the treasure trove finds are the one which are found accidentally. They contain invaluable archaeological material and historical importance, that is to say, mostly the coins. These treasures, whenever they are found, the discovery has to be informed, the information has to be given, it has to be handed over to the DC, and then the DC makes it lawful disclosure. However, especially the villagers and the urban people, they try to conceal the treasure found, or they only reveal a part of it, and then they try to melt it, or they try to sell it. And another thing is that they are unaware of the one-fifth value of the treasure found if deposited with the government. Whenever they are caught, they plead excuses or innocence. This is how the treasures are harmed. Then the most riding or the most powerful among the threats is the illicit trafficking of the cultural wealth. I have designed this. It takes place in 3 stages. The stage 1 is planning. The stage 2 is actual operation. The stage 3 is the final destination. So in the planning, there will be a mastermind, there will be a middleman, then he will conduct the survey through his agents, then there will be informers or local persons, trained personnels will be there. Planning, that is the date of theft is decided, how many persons are required, that also will be decided, who will transport and who will escort, and the temporary destination will also be decided. When come to the actual operation, there will be a man in charge. Then the vandalism will take place of the monument and the idols or the sculptures will be lifted. Then they will be transported. Then there will be a temporary destination. There will be a receiver. There will be a cooling period. What the final destination shows that is the market survey. There will be a prosperous buyer. Then the offer is made through the photographs and samples. Then the deal is struck. Then it changes several hands. Then it gets exported, finally reaches the art markets of the Western countries, and there will be a final purchaser. This is how our cultural health of the various kinds of threat, just synoptically, I have made this presentation in the diagram. So in order to stop these threats, in order to check these threats, in order to protect our heritage, the antiquarian laws have been enacted from 1810. That is Bengal regulation, followed by a series of law. Ultimately, in order to protect, these laws are required. However, our constitution is the one which is the mother of all our laws. So I will start about the heritage laws, beginning with the constitution, because the constitution has elaborate arrangement for the protection of cultural wealth. These heritage laws can be divided into 2 groups: Constitution of India and the heritage laws. So what the Constitution of India says, under Article 29, it has made it as a fundamental right. Any section of the citizens residing in the territory of India or any part thereof having distinct language, script, culture of its own shall have the right to conserve the same. That means it is our fundamental right to conserve it. Then Article 51A makes it fundamental duties. What it says, it shall be the duty of every citizens of India to value and preserve our rich composite culture. So it is fundamental duty. Everyone should feel proud that we have to save our heritage. Then not only the heritage, but also to protect and improve the natural environment, including forests, lakes, rivers, and wildlife, and to have a compassion for living creatures. Not only the heritage, not only the monuments or sculptures, but even the natural environment in which we are living, the rivers, forests, lakes, that also has to be preserved. Then the Constitution has provided some directions to the states, because India is a structure having the federal system, the central government and the respective state governments. Therefore, Article 49 says, it shall be the obligation of the state, I repeat, it shall be the obligation of the state to protect every monument or place or object of artistic, historic interest declared by under law made by a parliament to be of national importance from spoliation, disfigurement, destruction, removal, disposal, export, as the case may be. That means it refers to the monuments declared as the national monuments or otherwise centrally protected monuments, which are maintained through the Archaeological Survey of India. So it is the responsibility of the state to protect these monuments. Next is the archaeology being a concurrent subject. It has been, the responsibilities of the archaeology have been divided between the central government and the state government. In the 7th schedule of Constitution, there are three clauses. One is list 1, union list, that is serial number 67. It incorporates the ancient and historical records and archaeological sites and remains declared by or under law made by the parliament to be of national importance. That means all the monuments which are declared by the government of India as the monuments of national importance or centrally protected monuments, they are put in the union list 1 and they are maintained by the Archaeological Survey of India. Then we have state list. As I said, the archaeology has been divided between the central and the state. The libraries, museums, and other similar institutions controlled or financed by the state. Ancient and historical monuments and records other than those declared by or under law made by the parliament to be of national importance. That means, except the monuments of national importance, the local ones, that is, monuments are to be maintained, the lesser or the regional monuments are to be maintained by the respective state. That group of monuments they have put in the state list under serial number 12. That means we have the monuments of national importance maintained by the government of India, and the monuments, the regional monuments, are maintained by the respective state government. Then concurrent list, serial number 40, archaeological sites and remains other than those declared by law under made or parliament to be of national. This broadly covers the unprotected monuments and archaeological sites and remains. So here the responsibility lies between the center and the state. So this is the constitutional provision so far as the protection of our cultural heritage is concerned. Then what is the statutory backing for this, for this constitution? That means national initiatives and laws, that is for immovable cultural property, the Ancient Monuments and Preservation Act 1904, the Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites and Remains Act 58, which I am going to speak from a short while now. And the immovable cultural property is controlled or administered through the Indian Treasure Trove Act 1878 and the Antiquities and Art Treasures Act 1972. So this is the statutory or the laws at the national level. Let's see what is the position at the state level. Regional initiatives are law. In India, every state and union territories, they have their own laws. I am just giving the example from the Karnataka. It is called the Mysore Ancient and Historical Monuments and Archaeological Sites Remains Act 61. The Mysore Ancient and Historical Monuments and Archaeological Sites Remains Act 1965. Likewise, Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Kerala, Maharashtra, Gujarat, then Punjab, Rajasthan, every state in India, they have their own antiquarian laws for protection of their monuments. Then we also require the environmental laws, that is wildlife protection, especially for the natural sites like Gir Forest or the natural sites, Indian Forest Act. Then also we need the urban art commissions, that these urban art commissions guide the government how to take the development and how to regulate the structures, all these things, etc. And we have the best example is the Delhi Urban Art Commission. It guides the Delhi government for regarding the development plans and how to retain the colonial or the heritage areas like Mehroli, Qutub, all these things. Then Hampi World Heritage Monument Authority, 2002. We have got like Bombay, we have. Then for Maharashtra, we have one Urban Art Commission. So these also help in preserving the heritage. Then who are the agencies? Mainly the national monuments, archaeological sites, and the other things are managed by the government of India through the Archaeological Survey of India. Then we have the state archaeology departments for maintaining their own monuments. Sometimes foundation and trust, they are not directly involved, but they help these agencies for upkeeping the monuments, conservation, protection, excavation. Like Aga Khan Trust is there, Infosys Foundation is there, Reach Foundation in Tamil Nadu, Chennai, Then Dharmasthana Trust is there in Dharmasthala in Karnataka. Shah Wallace Trust is there. Infosys Foundation is there of Sudhamurthy. So they actually help these agencies. Then what are the international initiatives? Then we have UNESCO. I need not repeat UNESCO. Ever since the Abu Simbel temples were moved in 50s, since then it is playing a very vital role throughout the world, that it says the entire heritage or culture belongs to the entire mankind. Though with this slogan, they are bringing out an array of recommendations and conventions, and they request the state parties to sign and implement those recommendations and conventions, so that there will be a concorded efforts throughout the world for protection of the world's cultural and natural heritage. Then among the institution, International Council of Museums is there. Then ICROM is there, International Center for Study of Preservation, Restoration of Cultural Property. Then we have got ICOMOS. All these international agencies help to protect the heritage across the world. They give guidelines, they bring the monographs, they provide the technical assistance if necessary, sometimes, not always, rarely, the financial help also. With this background, we will deal with the laws in India. As far as Indian situation is concerned, I am speaking only about the national legislations. That is, the movable cultural property is protected by the Indian Treasure Trove Act 1878, and then the Antiquities and Art Treasures Act. The immovable cultural property is managed or controlled by the Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites Remains Act. Now, let me speak about the Indian Treasure Trove Act 1878. So this is one of the earliest act that was brought to combat the treasures. As I said, treasure, anything of any value hidden in the soil or anything affixed thereto. The section 3 of the Indian Treasure Trove Act 1878 defines treasure as anything of any value hidden in the soil or anything affixed there. Then what is the treasure? Treasure are mostly found accidentally while digging the foundations or laying the roads or across the rivers. All this, they contain mostly the coins, rarely the jewelry and the metal images, that is these bronze images especially. One of the best example of the bronze image is Patur Nataraja. It was dug out as a treasure trove in 1950s. Then it was sold. Then it has gone abroad. It was subjected to illicit traffic, and then it was brought back. And the earliest treasure what we find is the Gupta coins, that is known as Kalighat, hoard at Bengal. It contained about 65 Gupta gold coins, and the well-known hoard is the Bayana hoard, and then we have got Roman coins hoards. So every day we hear about these treasures. The treasure is of consequences provided that it satisfies the following two criteria. The amount or the value of treasure should exceed rupees 10. Whenever a treasure found, its value should be rupees more than 10. And it should have been hidden for more than 100 years. So the treasure should qualify these two conditions. One, it should exceed rupees 10, and it also should be hidden for more than 100 years before the date of finding. This is what the Indian Treasure Trove Act provides us. I'm going to briefly highlight each act as much as possible, the important sections. Then section 4. Then what? Now the question comes: what we have to do whenever that treasure is found? People are still ignorant about the findings, but they know it has a value, but they do not know it has an antiquity, but they know it is something precious for them. But the section 4 makes it obligatory for the finder to inform the collector in writing the nature and amount of approximate value of such treasure, the place in which it was found, and the date of finding. In addition, the finder should either deposit the treasure in the nearest government treasury or give the collector such security as the collector thinks fit to produce the treasury such time as he may require from time to time. That means it is our bounden duty to inform the government about the finding of the treasure and the nature, the approximate value, and then where it was found, the place and the date. Then once the information is passed on to the collector, now it is the responsibility of the collector to notify the finding, giving the date, finding, the nature, everything, and he informs in that notice, that notification, that is gazette notification, requiring all persons claiming the treasure on any part thereof. Whoever claims that, no sir, I have found this, no sir, this is in my land, whatever it is, who are the claimants, they should all go and be present on the date which the collector fixes. This date is usually not earlier than the 4 months, but not later than the 6 months. In between these 4 months and 6 months, the commissioner will fix a date and he will call the treasure to be placed before him, and then he conducts an inquiry among all the claimants to decide who is the owner, who is the finder, because justice should be met at the end of the day. After making all sorts of inquiry, then finally the conductor declares the treasure as ownerless, because it is highly impossible to determine for a collector or for anybody that when the treasure was buried, under what circumstances it was buried, who buried it, we do not know. Therefore, ultimately, as much as he can try, but we know 1 or 2 generations, but before that, we do not know. So the reasons, the context, and the purpose, it's not known. Therefore, usually, he declares the treasure as ownerless. Once the treasure is declared as ownerless, then the treasure is divided between the finder of the treasure and the owner of the place in the ratio of 75 and 25%, unless an agreement to the contrary exists between them. Usually, 75% to the finder and 25% to the owner of the place. For your information, practically, physically, the treasure is not divided. This is only a provision under which ratio the treasure has to be divided. I repeat, the treasure is not physically divided. Only it is a provision of ratio in which the finder and the place, owner of the place, is to be given. That is 75 and 25. Then you may ask, what will happen, sir, if their treasure not divided? Then the treasure will be acquired by the government of India, and then the material value of the treasure is given to the owner, the finder and the owner, together with the 1/5 more. That is next. The collector, after declaring the treasure as ownerless instead of dividing, may decide to acquire on behalf of the government the treasures or any specified portion thereof by payment to the persons entitled thereto a sum equivalent to the value of the material of such together with 1/5 such value. That means on and above, they get the 1/5 more than the actual value of the treasure acquired. Say if suppose gold coins are there, the total weight of the gold is measured, and then equivalent amount, market value, is considered. On that, 1/5 more is given. Since this provision is not widely known to the people, especially in villages and urban places, they try to conceal their finds or reveal a part or melt coins to extract the metallic coins. This particular clause is not known, and that is why we find the treasures are always seized. Very rarely people go and deposit the treasure whenever found to the deputy commissioner. Anyway, thanks to this Indian Treasure Trove Act, Section 16, that the treasures are acquired. I tell you one more thing, that though it is a central legislation, the implementation part is given to the state government. Whenever the treasure is found, the collector acquires and sends it to the respective state department of archaeology, where they are stored in the coin cabinets. Thanks to this section 16 of the Act, that most of the museums are flooded with the coins, right from punch mark to the colonial rulers. There was a system till 1950-60 that the surplus coins in each state used to be distributed among the fellow museums. But unfortunately, that system is now stopped. All the coins, whatever we find and acquired on behalf of the government, the state archaeology departments, they are just kept. And it's very sorry to say that neither the full detailed catalogs are not brought out. One thing which the serious scholars are to note it. Then what will happen if anything wrong is done, if anybody does not report or if anybody tries to alter? There are penalties or there are penal provisions. What the section 20 says, if the finder fails to report the find to the collector or deposits in the near treasury or alters the treasurer to conceal or suppress the identity, he shall not be entitled his share, and moreover, he is liable to be punished with the imprisonment, which may extend to 1 year fine or both. That means the finder, once he tries to conceal its identity or he wants to alter its face, whatever it is, then he will not get his due share, that is 75%. Section 21 says, if the owner of the land in which it is found within the meaning of the section 20 an offense, he forfeits his share on conviction, shall be punished with the imprisonment, which may extend to 6 months or fine or both. That means when the owner also does anything wrong, whether he wants to conceal, he wants to alter or hide the facts, then he will also be punished. This is the, in nutshell, about the Indian Treasure Trove Act. Now, we will go to another act which covers the movable cultural property, that is Antiquities and Art Treasures Act 1972. Before this act was brought in 72, we had the Export Control Act 1947. Between 1947 and 70s, there was a high incidence of smugglings in India and especially Asian countries. To put it more in a other way, from culturally developed countries to the less developed cultural countries, or from economically weaker countries to the affluent countries. So the UNESCO then decided that it brought out a convention known as the Paris Convention 1970. In that convention, they said that every state member has to devise its own mechanism to stop the illicit flow and to document the cultural wealth, to know the valuable data, what it has, and then to regulate the trade and the provision for retrieval of the antiquities smuggled. So all this incorporating, a new act was brought. This Antiquities and Art Treasures Act deals with the two categories of art object, that is antiquities and the art treasure. This was art treasure. These art treasures are the valuable sketches, paintings, drawings of Amrita Shergill, Gagendranath Tagore, and then Amarendranath Tagore, Sailoj Mukherjee, Rorik, all these things. Recently, the 26 items of the Nizam also have been declared as the treasure troves, art treasures. So within the meaning of this, so this is a little background why this Antiquities and Art Treasures Act was brought. Before that, there was no license for the antique dealers. There was no registration of the antiquities. We were not knowing what is the movable cultural wealth. So in order to have an effective control over the antiquities, especially to stop the illicit trafficking, to regulate the trade in antiquities, and to prepare a data of the available cultural wealth, especially the movable ones, this Antiquities Art Treasures Act 1972 was brought in. Let me go to the sections. The section 3 makes it very clear that it shall not be lawful for any person to export any antiquity or art treasure except under and in accordance with the terms of a conditions of a permit issued for the purpose by such authority as may be prescribed. As a rule, it shall be unlawful to export any antiquity or art treasure out of India. However, in certain cases, they can be taken out, say, for example, cultural exchange programs or for the exhibition purposes. The antiquities can be taken out under a permit issued by the Government of India, that is the Archaeological Survey of India, and the permission is given for a specific period for the specific purpose. Once the exhibition is over, they have to be brought back. Before they are being taken out of the country, a committee is known, National Screening and Evaluation Committee, that examines the objects, whether they are fit to be taken out or not, whether they can be allowed or not. Then it also lays down a condition of the chemical report, and then wall-to-wall insurance, and then it is allowed. Immediately after the the antiquities are brought out, again the same committee examines whether the objects taken are same and they are brought in a good condition. So that is, the permission is known as the temporary export permit. It is given by the DGASI. Now, section 5, we will come to the trade in antiquities. Till 1972, there was no restriction for anyone to carry out the business of antiquities. So it was thought that we should also bring the antiquities business within the ambit of the law. Therefore, they brought the trading in antiquities within the meaning of this act, saying no person shall himself or by any other person on this behalf carry on the business of selling or offering to sell an antiquity except under and in accordance with the terms and conditions of a license granted under section. That means nobody can do the business without the license, but after obtaining a license, you can conduct the business. And the license is given after making a thorough inquiry of the applicant, knowing his integrity, knowing his bona fide intention, his experience, the place where he wants to know. The license is given because the antiquities should not fall in the wrong hands. Because an antiquity, once is lost, it is lost forever. So the intention of the applicant has to be thoroughly examined. And then the license is given, and the license is given by the licensing officer. Who are the licensing officer? For the time being, the superintending archaeologists of the circle offices of ASI spread across the country are functioning as the licensing officer. They are not separately appointed. They are functioning as the licensing officer. Already they are the superintending archaeologists. Each licensing officer's jurisdiction is marked. Say, for example, Bangalore Circle will have Bangalore jurisdiction, Chennai, Kerala, Bombay, Delhi, like that. So the licensing officers give the licensing office license, and the superintending archaeologist of the circle offices of the ASI are functioning as the licensing officers. Then we will come to another important aspect, as I was telling, to know the available to build a data of the movable cultural property. We have a scheme known as the registration of antiquities. Not all antiquities are to be registered. The sculptures in stone, terracotta, metal, ivory, and bone, paintings including miniature tankas in all media, that is in paper, wood, cloth, skill, wood alike. The sculptures figure in wood, which are in existence for not less than 100 years. The antiquities time limit is 100 years. I repeat, not all antiquities are to be registered. Only selected categories the government has notified, that is sculptures, paintings, and wooden figures. So then the another criteria is the manuscripts. Manuscripts, where such manuscripts contain paintings, illustration, illumination, that is adornment with color, lettering, or illustrations, and their minimum age is fixed as 75 years old. So this registration of certificate is a document which proves your authenticity, the ownership of your antiquities, and it helps in building the data within the country, and also helps in retrieving or in stolen antiquities to be restored back to its place. I can give you one best example from Bodh Gaya. In 1960s, a standing Pala period Bodh Gaya Buddha was registered in the name of one Shatananda Giri of Bodh Gaya Math. Dr. Debla Mitra, who was our Director General, she in 1980s has gone and made a note of it. Made notes because she is a Buddhist scholar. In her next visit in 82 or 83, she went and she found that sculpture was missing. So out of curiosity, she went to the Matha about inquiring that. They gave the answer, did not answer. She went to the police. They also did not give answers. Meanwhile, this Bodh Gaya Buddha was purchased by the Metropolitan Museum of Art. No, they published the catalog, and in that catalog, this Avagar, one of the friends of the Mitra, informed that it appears to be an antiquity of Indian origin. Kindly get it examined from over it. She immediately wrote to the ASI, and we found that this particular Buddha from Bodh Gaya was registered in the name of Shatananda Giri, Gaya GYA Bihar 63 number. When this registration certificate was produced to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, they immediately returned the object without any compensation. Similarly, a Durga stolen from the Jammu and Kashmir was purchased from the Stuart Museum in Germany. It was also registered and Jammu and Kashmir area. When the registration certificate was produced before the museum authorities, that was also returned. So this is the usefulness of the registration certificate. One way it helps us in proving the ownership. Second way, it helps us to retrieve or get back the antiquity in case of stolen or in case of it is smuggled out. And the registration certificate and all that. Then who are the registering officers? Earlier when the scheme came, it was given to the state government. There were registering officers spread across the country in each state, and they used to register. But recently in 2010 or so, the registration scheme from the state government is withdrawn, and it has been now entrusted to the ASI. In each circle, the deputy superintending archaeologist or superintending archaeologist of the circle officers function as a registering officer and issue registration certificates. I appeal to all my friends and colleagues, if they have got any antiquities, please do go and approach the circle officers in every major cities. We have circle officers. Kindly go and meet them, and they help you in registering, please. And one thing which we could notice, that this registration of antiquities was especially in the temples. The priests were not coming forward, but they were telling the agamas were not allowing us to photograph and all that. And now the trend has changed. They have come to know about the thefts in the museum, but still they are coming forward. But it has still a lot of objects, specially kept in the religious temples, are to be registered. And this is how the registration helps us give priorities. Everyone, including the foreign national residing in India, has to register the antiquity before the registering officer. Then this act has also brought a compulsory acquisition. When an antiquity is of outstanding one, or it is desirable to preserve an antiquity in public place, the government has power to acquire it. That is the word they have used, the compulsory acquisition. The best example is the Mandi jewelry in 2004 or 5. In 2000 earlier that the jewelry of Mandi, Harappan jewelry, was found in Mandi village. It was acquired by the government of India, but it was against the compensation. And however, this compulsory acquisition does not extend to any object being an antiquity or art treasure used for bona fide religious observances. And when an object is kept under a religious usage, either in temple or in house or somewhere, that object cannot be acquired, because the section 19 does not allow an object to be acquired if it is under bona fide religion. People have generally believe that once the antiquities is registered, they will be acquired. It is not the case. Every compulsory acquisition is affected by payment of compensation. Compensation is given, taking into consideration the antiquarian value, then the arbitrators will be there, and then there will be person to help. And this is how an elaborate arrangement has been made for paying the compensation. Then finally, if a dispute comes whether an object is an antiquity or art treasure, and finally it is the DG who has to decide whether this particular object is an antiquity or not. That power is given under section 24 of this act. It reads, if any question arises whether any article, object or thing or manuscript, record or other document is an antiquity or not an antiquity or art treasure, it shall be referred to the Director General, ASI, or to an officer not below the rank of a director in ASI, authorized by the DG, and the decision of the Director General on such case shall be final. So this particular case comes specially when the investigating agencies approach the DG ASI, because whenever the objects are seized, whenever the objects are caught at the customs exit channels or in some other stolen objects, now they have to file a case against the persons who accused, where this provision comes alive, because in the court of law we have to say whether it is an antiquity or not. If it is an antiquity, then the various provisions of this act are applied. Say, if he is doing business of antiquities, the section 5 will come. If he is trying to export the antiquity, section 3 will apply. If he is a licensed dealer, if he is not managing this thing, then he will. So this is how there will be a dispute. So before the court of law, you have to go and produce with a definite that it is an antiquity or non-antiquity. So the matter has to be referred to the DG. He will decide whether it is an antiquity or not. And this clause is usually invoked as and when the investigating agencies approach the DG ASI. As usual, everywhere we have penalties. Every act has penalties, because the violation of any act or violations of the various provisions cannot be kept silent, because we have to punish the offenders or the persons who violate the laws. Section 25 says exports or attempt to export any antiquity or art treasure in contravention of section 3, because section 3 says that it is unlawful to export any antiquity. Therefore, exports or attempt to export any antiquity or treasure shall be punishable with imprisonment for a term which shall not be less than 6 months, but which may extend to 3 years with fine. This is without prejudice to any confiscation liable to be under Custom Act 62. That means not only the punishment is given, but also the object is seized. And there are other offenses also, like keeping the antiquities without registration, then carrying the license, the licensor does not maintain the proper records, because any licensed dealer has to maintain records, albums of sale and buying procedures. All these things he has to maintain a proper record. If he is not maintaining, then registration without keeping, all these things are liable to be punished. That is for a term which may extend to 6 months with a fine or both. The antiquity in respect again can be confiscated. So there is any licensed dealer has to maintain the proper records, and he has to allow the licensing officer to inspect his licensing firm. So if anybody prevents the licensing officer for inspecting record, photograph, registered, maintained under section 10, or prevent any officer from entering into such any place under section 23, such person is also liable to be punished with the imprisonment for a term which may extend to 6 months or with fine or both. So these are some of the penalty. And let it be made clear here that all investigating agencies must take prior authorization from the central government to initiate prosecution for various offenses committed within the meaning of this act. And Especially, I want to go back, and the section 23 is search and seizure given to the officers. But the archaeologists must be very careful in invoking this section, because we are not accustomed to this kind of search and seizure, because it is usually the customs, ED, or the police, CBI, other agencies. They are habituated for search and seizure. It involves IPC code has to be brought out, and witnesses are to be called. Search and seizure has to be done. Prepare an inventory, hand it over. This is a very lengthy process, because the ASI or the State Department of Archaeology or registering licensing officer, they are more academic persons than the administrators. Therefore, the section 23 must be very judiciously invoked and used. Then I will come to the ancient monuments, another 10 to 15 minutes. The Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites Remains Act 58. So this act was brought after our Independence Day. 1904 Act was there, still it is in force. See, the purpose of this act was to regulate the excavation, compulsory tracking the movement of antiquities, maintenance of monuments by the agreement, deprotection of the monument if necessary. And another thing was that in 1904 Act, the Ancient Monument Preservation Act 1904, the most of the powers were vested with the revenue officers. So in that act, you find the collector, and everything was concentrated on the revenue officers more than the archaeological officers, though they are the actual custodians of the cultural heritage in the country. The second problem was the high-rise building coming up in and around the monument. And the third and most important was the act was to be brought on par with our constitution. So incorporating all these, some of the problems which were faced in the 1904, and to bring the act in par with our constitution, the 1958 Act was brought up. So the section 4, as I said, this is regarding the declaration of any monument, any monument as a nationally protected monuments. There are innumerable of unprotected monuments throughout the country. If necessity arises, and very most outstanding monument can be declared as a monument of national importance. For that, they have to publish a notification that we are going to protect this monument as a national monument. A copy of it has to be affixed near the monument. If anybody is interested in that, they may object it. After considering the objection, the monument may be declared. For this, it is called preliminary notification and the final notification. All the notifications are published along with the revenue data and the site plan and the boundaries. So this is how a monument is declared, and it is called preliminary and final, and all the notifications are to be accompanied by the revenue data and the site plan. Then section 5 says the Director General may purchase, take, or accept a gift or bequest of any monument. Means if necessary comes, if any monument is without a owner, where it is ownerless and it is absolutely necessary for its maintenance, then in such a case, with the approval of the government, it may purchase, it may take a lease, accept a gift. And this section is not applicable to any affect the use of any protected monument for customary of religious. Suppose at the time of taking this monument, if any religious customs or practices are going on that, you should not stop it. That should continue. And section 6 says once the monument is taken, the collector shall propose the owner of a protected monument to enter into an agreement with the central government within a specified period for the maintenance of the monument. That means you can also maintain a monument with the agreement. That agreement should be elaborate. What to do, what not to do, who will have rights, what rights will have, and who will pay the expenses, the staff required, everything, all the details will be there. And this agreement can also be terminated either by the ASI or by the owner by giving prior notice. And in certain cases, when the monument is in being of danger, destroyed, injured, misused, or allowed and fall into decay, it may acquire the protected monument under the provisions of the Land Acquisition Act 1894, as if the maintenance of the protected monument were a public purpose within the meaning of the. Suppose if a monument is going to be destroyed, the government or the ASI cannot keep money. If a protected monument, it can acquire it. Then the section 15 says the Director General may receive voluntary contributions towards the cost of maintaining the protected and may give order as to the management application received by him, provided that no contribution received under this section shall be applied to any purpose other than the purpose for it was contributed. That means the Director General can receive the voluntary contribution towards the cost of maintaining a monument. But one should keep it in mind that for what purpose it has been given, it should be utilized for that purpose only. Say, for example, the donation is given for the conservation of monuments, that should be used. If anybody gives for the providing the public amenities, that should be used. So for the purpose which it has been used, for that purpose only, it should be used. Section 16 makes it very clear that a protected monument maintained by the central government under this act, which is a place of worship or shrine, shall not be used for any purpose inconsistent with its character. That means a protected monument, if it is a religious place of worship, we should not misuse it and we should not use for any purpose which will harm its character, which will harm its chastity. That means for protecting the religious place of worship, the lawmakers has given a very serious thought, that because we cannot play with the emotions and feelings of the public of a particular place of worship. Therefore, the lawgivers have given a very good thought that it should not be used for any other purpose inconsistent with its character. Then recently, this prohibited and regulated area was a burning issue. Especially it started with the Ahmedabad monuments, because the Ahmedabad is flooded with very numerous monuments. Then there was a hue and cry regarding the permission for the construction of houses in and around the monuments. So this was from 90s to 2010. It was a burning issue. However, in 2000, JP Joshi committee, the committee was constituted under the former DGAS when he was director or joint DG, that what is to be done in this. Then they recommended 100 meters as a prohibited area and 200 meters as a regulated area. And one thing, again, the question of the people comes here. We cannot throw the people who are living in and around the monuments, because they are living from the generation. We cannot we cannot throw them overnight away. So this was a burning issue. Ultimately, this 100 meter, 200 meter was given when the Ancient Monuments Act was amended in 2010. The 100 meters and 200 meters was approved by amending the section 20 as 20A. Every area beginning at the limit of the protected area or the protected monument and extend to a distance of 100 meters in all the direction shall be prohibited area. That is, this black one is a protected monument, the yellow one is a prohibited area, this red one is a protected area, the one which you see around yellow is the prohibited area. Here, no new constructions are allowed. However, the repairs and minors, without altering the original characters, the permission is given. However, in certain cases for public causes, it also permission is given, provided it will not have an adverse impact, adverse effect on the monument which is there. People have one big notion that ASI won't give any permission. Yes, we don't give permission for the new constructions. But for the repairs without altering the original character and architecture. The permission is given for the repairs, not even for rebuilding, only for the repairs. I want to make it clear that in the prohibited area, no new constructions are allowed. Only for the repairs of the existing buildings without altering the original character is given. But government has given one relaxation. If it is for a public cause, it can be allowed, provided it will not have any adverse impact on the existing monument. Now, regulated area. Every area beginning at the limit of after the 100 meters, extending all around to a distance of 100 meters shall be the regulated area. Here, the one which you see in green color is the regulated area. It is 200 meters from the prohibited area. In this, new constructions are allowed, repairs are allowed, but again, it should not have any adverse effect on our monument. See, all these restrictions are only to see that the monuments are not adversely affected. It is not the only monument is to be preserved. Now, all over the world, the protection and maintenance of monument concept is undergoing changes. That even the ambience is also to be kept neat and clean. They should have a very good approach road. It should have a very healthy atmosphere, very clean area. So all these 100 meters and 200 meters areas are concerned. And another important aspect of this was the heritage bylaws. See, the monuments, each monument has its own problem. See, the monuments of Karnataka or, say, for example, Tamil Nadu are different from those one we find in Kashmir because of the other problem. The one which are in rainy seasons affected area, Assam. So these are very different type of monuments. They have their own problems. In order to facilitate all the conservation problems, addressing the conservation issue, parking area, lighting, and public conveniences. So for that, the government has intended to prepare the heritage bylaws for each monument. So the competent authority, which is in the state, in consultation with the INTAC, they can prepare the heritage bylaws. So this is area where the youngsters have a chance. Fortunately or unfortunately, so far the heritage bylaws for each monument is still under taking off, and not much progress. I'm sorry to say, I'm from ASI, but still it is not being taken off. Here, the youngsters, especially the conservation architect or MA, the masters with any interested persons, they can go heritage bylaws. Not only INTAC, the other agencies are there, like Dharmothana in Karnataka, then Infosys is there, then Reach Foundation is there, Aga Khan Trust is there, Shawal, along with them, you can prepare the heritage bylaws so that each monument is kept neat and clean. Then National Monument Authority. This 100 meters, 200 meters, again problem was there, and then it was to be controlled. So who is to give the permission? How the permission is to be given? So a National Monument Authority is considered. It will have 5 experts and 5 experts officially and 5 part-time, and there will be a chairman, and DGASI will be the ex officio member and all that. And it actually recommends to the competent authority to give the permission or not. It advises the competent authority to modify the proposals. See, anybody who wants to undertake the renovation or who wants to build the monument, something in the regulated area or carry out the repairs, they have to approach the competent authority who are in each state. Some of them are the directors of the regional directors, somewhere state archaeology officers, somewhere joint secretaries of the government. They have been made the competent authority. You have to submit your application there. Then that application along with their recommendation is forwarded to the National Monument Authority. The National Monument Authority asks the competent authority to modify, recommends, and then it also studies the adverse effects, large-scale development projects, whatever, everything it takes care, and it recommends to the competent authority to grant the permission. And whatever the National Monument Authority takes the decision, that is final. Then section 21-24, an elaborate arrangement is made of excavation in protected and unprotected area. I want to just say that every archaeological excavation needs an authorization from ASI, and the Kaaba Central Advisory Board of Archaeology screens all proposals and recommendations for use of license by the DGSI to the intending excavators. This Kaaba is only to guide, to see that the proposals are sent. They may modify, they may ask you to resubmit, whatever it is. So it recommends after its examination to the DGASI for giving the permission. And then penalties are there. Recently, the penalties have been enhanced. Who destroys, removes, alters, or defaces, imperils, misuse a protected monument, being the owner or occupier of a monument, contravenes and under made section 1, so shall be punishable with the imprisonment which may extend to 2 years, or with fine which may extend to 1 lakh rupees, or both. See, the penalties are there. Earlier, it was very small quantum. In 2010, it has been enhanced. Similarly, any person who moves any antiquity in contravention of notification under section 25, who moves the antiquity without the permission, he will be penalized with imprisonments which may extend to 2 years, or with the fine which may extend to 1 lakh rupees, or both. And the court convicting a person of any such contravention by order direct such person to restore the antiquity to the place from which it was moved. Then punishment for construction in prohibited area. Anybody who violates the present regulations, construct any construction in prohibited area, shall be punishable with the imprisonment not exceeding 2 years, with a fine which may extend to 1 lakh rupee, or with punishment for construction in prohibited area. And then punishment in the regulated area also be punishable with a imprisonment for not exceeding 2 years, or with fine which may extend to 1 lakh rupees, or both. And this is various kinds of, in 2018, the monuments entry fee has been enhanced. So for A category, 40 rupees for India and SAARC countries, and for cashless, in order to encourage the cashless transaction, they have made 35 rupees. And then we have category A monuments, we have category B monuments. Any if you want Taj group of monuments where you want to have the facilities, that it will be 550 per head, and cash payment is 600 rupees. So these are the various provisions, and this is for category B, 25 rupees, 20 rupees. And then heritage legislations. This is my just another 5 minutes I will take. Some of the important legislations I have studied. Most fascinating for me is some of them I have listed out. I am running out of short time. The traditional methods of conservation is one which impressed me a lot. The Japan's Protection Cultural Property Act, enacted on 33/2007, covers a broad spectrum of tangible and intangible and folk cultural properties and their products, and inclusion of traditional techniques for conservation of the cultural property. This kind of provision has to be brought in our Monuments Act. It is most fascinating that a broad spectrum of tangible and intangible, both folk cultural property and their products, and inclusion of traditional texts for conservation of heritage. This is one which has fascinated me while undertaking this research, so I have included here for your knowledge. And counterfeiting antiquities. A few countries like Pakistan, Iraq, Guatemala, Honduras, Bulgaria, Mexico, Israel consider the reproduction of a sculpture or painting or object as an offense. The best examples in India which the antiquities were counterfeited are the Amin pillars and the Shivapuram Nataraja. The Amin pillars were found as a treasure trove, and they were stolen. Once they were stolen, they caught the international smugglers' eye. 3 sets of duplicate were prepared when they were in the custody. Somehow, the original was sent out. 1 set was given to the place where the temple is there, Thakurji temple. When the second set was sent, when the third set was being sent, the custom officers got the suspicious. Then they found out that it was a smuggling act. Then committee was formed. Then they found that the one which is in the Thakurji temple is a fake one. And then a search was on there. The original was in London, and they were brought back from Narang brothers. And another is, the very good example is Shiva, Nataraj Shivapuram Nataraja. It was found as a treasure trove, and it was given to the temple where for repair, the temple authorities gave it for repairs. The Sthapati was doing it, and the smugglers persuaded a copy was placed in the temple, and whereas the original was smuggled out, it was sold for 10,000 and then 5 lakhs, 50 lakhs something, and final price in America was $1 million, and it was ultimately brought back. So the counterfeiting is also one provision which Indian this Antiquities and Art Treasures Act is to be there. Then penal provisions. Another important penal provision which attracted me is Poland's legislation has a unique conception of community services and punitive damages to be paid for a selected public purpose connected with the guardianship of the monuments. Here, the punishment is given as a community service. You have to do some service. There are some countries where the penalties are enhanced. There are several, but I have given you the only one example. An attempt in Mexico, an attempt to removal of an archaeological or historical artistic monument without the permission from the competent institute shall be liable for a term of 2 to 12 years imprisonment and to a fine of 150,000 piastres for those who repeat the crimes, and punishment shall be increased by 2/3 to double the length of the sentence. The habitual offenders shall be liable to punish, increase, duplicate, double, triple, like that. So in several countries it is there. In most of the Western countries, even in USA, some of the African countries, the repeated or the repeated offenders are given the penalties twice, thrice. In some countries, the cost of the object, the antiquity is recovered. In some countries, incentives are there. That is, Greek legislation provide that any person being a private citizen or public servant who contributes to the detection of illegally exported antiquities or antiquities which are apparently intended for illegal exportation indicates the preparation of such an act shall be rewarded of no less than 1/4 or not exceeding 1/2 of the value of such antiquity. Here, when the act is being performed, where there are plans for being smuggling, if anybody gives the information, he will get these kind of rewards. In Germany, the cultural property entered in a register of the national enjoys tax concession, and these kind of provisions are also to be brought in our Indian legislations. Finally, need of the hour, creating cultural awareness among the masses, particularly younger generation. Everyone must respect the heritage laws. Over dependence on the central and state agencies may be avoided. NGOs, corporate sectors, business magnates, philanthropists may be approached and impressed to involve in these novel endeavors for protecting. Documentation of tangible and intangible heritage must be encouraged. So this is how I have made my presentation, and the journey begins. Let's rededicate ourselves for protection, preservation, and promotion of our heritage. Thank you. I thank once again the history enthusiasm for the Itihasa Saptaha 4. Especially, I was when Dr. Nandan Shastri requested me, I cannot say no to him because he's one of my well-wisher. And Manali also I met very recently. She said, sir, we will make use of you. And Nidhi Katti also over a telephone, she was hanging me. All, sir, when is your presentation? Send this presentation. And with these few words, I thank all the audience for who have joined this presentation. And this is a small presentation in, say, almost 1 hour and 10 minutes. It's highly impossible to narrate the 3 laws and make the presentation. As far as this thing, I have made a very important selection of the slides and made so that it touches the heart and mind of the people or the audience, so that the love and affection for the heritage and its protection ignites or regenerates. So with these words, I thank once again all my friends and colleagues who have listened patiently me and the authorities of the history enthusiasm. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Thank you, sir. In fact, because it was a very comprehensive and very informative lecture. The ins and outs of the laws are usually very much, the general public is very much ignorant of the law part of heritage. We usually speak of conservation and we speak of the methods and all that. But we forget that there is also a constitutional factor in it, and that we can use it to our advantage when we are trying to protect and conserve heritage. So thank you very much for introducing the very important aspects of all the heritage laws of India. And it was an all-encompassing talk. So thank you very much for that. So with your permission, we can take up a few questions.
Yeah. So in fact, I must thank all of you, especially Nandanji.
Yes, sir. So first of all, I would like to read out the comment by Professor Narayan Vyas. C.V. Patil जी का महत्वपूर्ण व्याख्यान है, and he has written namaskar to you.
Oh, thank you. He is my
First,
Narayan Vyas is my senior colleague.
yes, sir, and he's also a member of the history enthusiasts group. So we have a question from Nandan Shastri sir. Are there some specific laws in any country specific for geological heritage sites?
So as far as I know, I have not studied from this angle. This is the first question for me about the geology. But when we protect the Paleolithic site, naturally the terraces and the geological formations in which these implements have come up, they are usually. So naturally such river terraces or the geological formations from where they are there, they come under the archaeological sites. But as a specific for geological, see, I have not come across, but it is covered under the archaeological sites where the Paleolithic implements are found, either mostly in situ.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. My friend Sudeep from Kerala has asked a question. Congratulations on wonderful lecture. What can be done to conserve archaeological sites that are not under conservation by the ASI or state department?
Yeah, it's a good question. See, I told you in the beginning, there are monuments of 3 categories. One is the monuments which are controlled by the ASI, known as this national monuments or centrally protected monuments, and those which are under the state archaeological respective departments, and a quite number of them are unprotected monuments. So here you can take the initiative. You can approach the some of the agencies, like since Kerala is very near to Tamil Nadu, Dr. Satyamurthy is heading the Reach Foundation. They are undertaking the conservation of monuments. That is, he himself is a superintending archaeologist. He guides and he has got a good team. And Infosys Foundation is there. Recently, they have conserved one monument in Lakshmeshwar of the later Chalukya. The entire thing was financed by them. And a unique Then Shahwalist, Aga Khan Trust they have given for Humayun and they are giving for number. Then Jindals are giving. In Hampi monuments they have given. Manali must be knowing. And a unique trust is there that is known as Dharmosthana Trust in Dharmasthala. Dharmothana Trust in Dharmasthala, headed by Dr. Virendra Hegde. They protect the unprotected monuments in collaboration with the state government of archaeology. Here, it is a unique system of having the financial aspects. 40% will be given by the Dharmothana Trust, Dharmasthala. 40% is given by the state government, and 20% is collected from the villagers in which the monument is situated. Because the idea is to develop a sort of a love and affection for their monument. They should also feel proud in having their monument and preservation. The idea is to involve the local people. They are collecting the 20% from the village. So this is a unique trust where 40% from the trust, 20% from the Karnataka government, and 20% from the villagers. So such organizations are there. Intact is there. So you can approach.
Yes, sir. I just want to add the ash mound at Kudatini in Ballari is also in similar way protected by some local private company in Ballari.
Which one?
The ash mound, sir. The prehistoric
The
site.
Ash Mound.
Ash mound.
Purtini Ash Mound
Yes,
under Ravi Kori Shettar, a team of archaeologists have developed. The
Yes,
Thermal Corporation, the National Karnataka Power Corporation has given financial aid for the development of the Kurtini Ash Mound. They have provided the space, they have put the bulldozers, they have given the flooding lights and all that. There are people, there is no dearth of money. Only you have to go and approach, win their heart and mind, and convince them that we are going to use this. And kindly take the help of the authorized trusts.
absolutely, sir.
Sir, Lakundi place in Uttar Karnataka, that is also financially supported by Infosys, I guess.
That Lakshmeshwara temple is
Yes.
temple is by Sudha Murthy's Infosys Foundation.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
Sir, Prabhulal Thakkarji. Yes, sir. Prabhulal Thakkarji has written, even there are national level laws for protection and state level laws.
Yes.
Encroachment at protected sites is still going on, and we have lost many sites. So, can you please suggest some measure to stop such encroachment?
See here,
Save
there are some associations like heritage friends, friends of museums, and you can have a local organization. You can be in touch with the ASI or in touch with the local. You yourself can form a group and fight for the protection, because the constitution under section 50 or so, it provides that it is the responsibility of the state government to protect the nationally protected monument. So constitutionally, the state government is bound to do that. Here, unfortunately, the state government has to take a leading role, and whether it is state or archaeology, we are only looking at our own monuments. There are innumerable monuments where the societies, the heritage clubs, the friends of museums, or even own organization create the awareness, be after the government. And definitely something will result, if not today and day after tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Gautam Jantkal sir has asked a three-part question. Sir, inscribed copper plate epigraphs are not mentioned in the list of items requiring registration. So, are
Yes,
they
yes.
exempted from registration?
Yes, they are exempted from the purview of the registration, because Government of India has notified only sculptures in all media, paintings, wood carvings, and the illustrated and illuminated manuscript. So you can keep it, but get it published. You go to epigraphy branch of the nearest epigraphy branch, and go to the epigraphist, see that the contents is published and brought to the light. It may contain a very good historical data.
Yes, sir. His following two questions are, sir, is the Treasure Trove Act only applicable for items found below the ground or also for those found on surface? And
No,
his
any,
one more query
any,
is, many
1
ancient
minute.
coins are found in the riverbed.
Ancient coin which are found accidentally. The one which are found in excavation, exploration, they are not considered as treasures. The one which are found accidentally, either digging or laying the foundation or laying the roads or laying the drainages in Bidar, while laying the drainage, two important codes have been found. In river beds also they are found, because the river gets cut through the waters. Anything which is found accidentally, whether it is a drainage, lake, tank, well, house.
Thank you, sir. Sir, this is a question by Mrs. Chaya Mumaya. Thanks for the educative lecture. Is embroidery and textile also a part of heritage, and what laws
Definitely,
concern the
definitely,
conservation of
definitely.
such fragile materials?
See, everything it comes under tangible heritage, because textile has a generation. There is a museum in Gujarat, textile museum. All kind of
Been there,
museums
sir.
are textiles are preserved. Even the tradition. See, that is how the concept of heritage is going radical changes. Earlier, we used to know only about monuments, antiquities, sculptures. Now, the wildlife sanctuaries, the natural sites, cultural landscapes like Hampi, the historic places like Srirangpatana, Panipat, and the wildlife forest, like these things, all are all brought within the dance, drama tradition. These are all brought under the purview of the heritage. Now, a holistic approach is to be there. So naturally, the ancient textiles. I remember my mother had a wonderful, saris of the good old days. Now we can't find them. Even in a morning household, the rangoli, what usually the Indian woman does, that itself is a tradition. That is also part of our heritage. See, our heritage starts from the mothers or ladies early in the morning by, putting the rangoli till late in the night. Then she goes to bed. Only thing is, you have to look it from a different perspective. We do puja, we do respect our elders, we go to school, we respect our teachers. See, these are all tradition. We used to hear some good stories from our parents. Ramayana, Mahabharata, Sati Savitri, Ansuya, Markandeya. These are very common stories in households. Ramayana is very common. Ramayana and Mahabharata, right from Kanyakumari to Kashmir, you find.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Dr. Vinay Kumar sir has written informative lecture,
Oh,
and Alkesh Shaveri, yes, sir. Alkesh Shaveri ji from USA, he has written, we must try and install these laws to make everyone know. And India has many geological sites, so new laws should be formed for those. That is
yeah,
what he
that is
has
that is
opined.
that is should be, because still the marine archaeological wealth has not been brought under the purview of the act, because every country has a certain nautical miles within their territory, so that has to be brought in. And Vinay Kumar is my good friend. He is the co-editor of the Dr. R.C. Agrawal. Vinay, very nice to see you and hear on the this thing.
Yes, sir. And Sunanda Srivastav ji has also
Oh,
written very good and informative.
Sunanda is another good friend of mine. We were together in the antiquity section for a long time. Even after our retirement, superannuation, still we are in connect with each other, and we always talk. She was also worked in antiquity section. She has also, he and Dr. Dimiri were responsible in bringing back several antiquities. And likewise, it is all Dr. Harimaji was there, L.K. Srinivasan. We all should remember Dr. H. Sarkar, who has written Protection of Monuments and Antiquities in India. he is considered to be father. But still more, Dr. A. Ghosh notes in the ancient India regarding the laws are terrible. One should read them. After Sarkar, L.K. Srinivasan has done a wonderful, he was called as the man of antiquarian laws. So this legacy is continuing, Sunanda, Dimri, myself, and now our successor, it's going on. Things are going on.
Absolutely, sir. So one last question. Many times the private mutts of families refuse to provide the sources that they have themselves. Are there any laws for such situations where they're not ready to give the sources to the government or conservative authorities?
Many times the private Mata family refuse to provide the source that they have themselves. See, this is again, it is, we cannot force, because it's a religious place. Only we have to convince them what antiquities you have, what manuscripts you have. See, the Jaina Matha in Mood Bidre has wonderful manuscripts, which are one of the earliest illustrated manuscript. You must be knowing. And Shravan Belgola Jaina Matha has some manuscript and bronzes. The Ganga bronzes, which was found as a treasure trove, is now in the Ganga Matha. It's a beautiful Ganga bronze. And even in Dharma or in any other mata, especially in Karnataka or in Tamil Nadu, there are so many matas, especially Veershaiva matas, they have some records. But some work has been done regarding these matas, but still, we cannot go and compel them. Only we have to request them, win their heart, and what I can say, win their heart and impress upon the importance of the what work you are doing. Then we can take out the material available.
Absolutely, sir. If they are not ready to give the originals, we can at least persuade them to give us a copy of it so we can conserve it for posterity.
First of all, you should convince and get them, they are prepared mentally. Once they are prepared mentally, what you are going to do and what you are going to highlight, first thing is that we have to convince that we are not going to acquire.
Yes.
First thing is that we are going to only study from the research point of view. And when the research is over, and you have to say you will be the first person to show the results.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, sir. So we have reached the end of today's lecture. I would just read out one more comment. Informative lecture. Sometime we do not have information from museum and many artifacts lay in storehouses. What can be done about this?
See, museums, every museum has, Dr. Nandan Shastri is there. Every museum has two aspects. One is objects on display, and the second is objects in reserve collection. Okay, there are accession registers. For that, anybody who is interested in doing research, they can approach the museum and study them and properly. And I'm sure they will be, there will be, I think, no problem, because I remember Dr. Amarendra Nath did on the PhD on the Asian South Asian sculptures housed in the National Museum, something like that. People are there who have done PhD on the objects housed in the museum. For example, Dr. Amarendra Nath has done his PhD on the objects based in the National Museum. So one can go and approach them. See, your intent and approach is then good, then you can definitely provide. In Hampi, there are a lot of museums. Every museum has its two aspects. One is antiquities on display, and the second is reserve collection. So in that case, you can approach them. I'm sure they will help you. So I want to convey my old friends. I want to convey my good old friends. Narayan Vyas was there, Sunanda was there, Vinay was there, and Alok must be, who is having the next lecture, must be listening. He is also an authority on antiquities. And he has told, when we met last time in December, I think, for revision of syllabus, in a casual chat, he was telling about the Monuments Act. He told Patilji it is being updated. Don't worry, we will see that. So I request the ASI officers who are listening this presentation to update all the acts, several notifications are brought from time to time. They must be updated, and the updated act must be available to the public on the public domain in the website. But I also salute and pay my respects to those who have assiduously endured in preserving our heritage. And in recent times, one thing is noticeable, that media people are playing the role. In USA, I'm forgetting those two, three names. They're, wonderfully, they are bringing out the chasing Aphrodite. This is one site where all the Subhash Kapoor exposure was done. And from India, Mr. Vijay Kumar and Anurag, his India Pride project, and Kirit Mankodi from Bombay. And individuals are taking interest in retrieving the heritage. Especially, we must thank this Vijay Kumar, Anurag, Anurag Kashyap, his India Pride project, and especially I'm forgetting names, especially from America. That is Chasing Aphrodite. There is a website in which you find all the theft stories. They persuaded and behind after the Subhash Kapoor case. And Kirit Mankodi is another fellow. So there is a generation, there is a change in the younger generation. It's not that the ASI or the state government is taking the interest in retrieving. So I must thank all our seniors and the persons who are involved in this. And I wish everybody should bring back the more antiquities on one side. Second, within the country itself, we should find the organizations and we should involve ourselves with the various associations, like Shastriji must be knowing Friends of Museum. And then we have heritage clubs. And with this, we can promote, especially the youngsters. We can draw in the NSS students, NCC students. In Karnataka, we had 7 NSS camps, and the students drawn from colleges, they were so enthusiastic to learn about conservation, about monuments and the preservation. So there is a trend. Only we have to do. Swachh Bharat mission is there. Heritage walks are there. We have to, rejuvenate them. Not that only in 1 year. We should periodically do that. And local people is must. Local history should be told by the local historians in the local monuments. Then the impact on the local fellows will be totally different.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, sir. And we, as the history enthusiast, our team, we will definitely do our part in creating awareness about heritage, in volunteering our own help and effort in this particular direction.
No. That's what
And
I think I met you when the last month. I told this discussion should not be confined to the classrooms or the seminars.
yes,
It's very easy to stop the smuggling or maintain adopt a monument. Ask the school or the college students, adopt a nearby monument. Nothing you have to do, just periodical cleaning. That will enhance the life of the monument. Waterlogging and the vegetation are the two deadliest enemies for the preservation of monument. If they are avoided, naturally it is like a giving first aid to the monument. So anyway, it was before you conclude, I say it was really interesting to answer the questions and to meet the people across. And I thank all my seniors, right from Ghosh to the present director Anil, and all my colleagues, C.V. Mishra, Sunanda, Dimri, and other friends, Dharmveer Sharma, Vikas, all. We were in Urmila Sant, we were in a team in antiquity section. So with that, I remember all of them fondly on this day. And I still cherish and those sweet memories which we spent in Delhi in antiquity section. So I thank all my friends, colleagues, well-wishers for being with me for this presentation, almost 2 hours. And I once again thank the organizers of this history forum, Itihasa Saptaha 4, especially Nandan Shastri, who who compelled me to deliver this lecture, and then Mamali and Nidhi Katti. Thank you, one and all. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a nice day. Hope you will enjoy in preserving the monuments and initiate certain actions which will be a long way to go in the history of preservation of our heritage. You know, this there is a one beautiful say, there was once a party going on in somewhere, I don't remember, or Baroda, in which Bendapudi Subbarao was there. You know, that Wheeler was there. That Wheeler asked the Bendapudi Subbarao, where is the personality of India? In a very sarcastic way. After 2 years, the Bendapudi Subbarao wrote the book Personality of India. And in the preface to that, this book is a reply to a dramatic question put by Wheeler: where is the personality? These are the words written in the preface of Bendipudi Subbarao. So every one of us can become inspired from these words. We can contribute whatever is possible. It's not that one who always sits in the office. And even, if you remember the bridge built at Sri Lanka and India by the squirrels, so the Alulu Seve, small, service to the preserving will go a long way. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir. In fact, the pleasure is ours and the honor is ours to have you on our platform. I now
No, I
request the
enjoyed
honorary
more.
president of our association. Yes, yes, sir, we enjoyed more actually.
Okay. Thank you very much.
That
Yeah,
yes, sir.
thank you very much.
Thank
See
you,
you
sir.
sometime.
So I now request the honorary president of our association, Shri Nandan Shastri sir, to propose the vote of thanks.
Before proposing the vote of thanks, let me bring to your kind notice, Dr. Patil, that there are many other familiar faces besides three persons' names mentioned by you. For example, Professor Ashwatth Narai and Gautam Jantakal also. They are also listening to you. And Mr. Adhikari, the new director of Ahmedabad World Heritage City Trust. And uh, that reminds me of our meeting several times in East Bay area of California. Uh, Moreover, as the native of Ahmedabad city and as the member of expert committee of Ahmedabad World Heritage City Trust, my horizon on the heritage laws with reference to India has remarkably been widened after listening to today Dr. C.B. Patil's talk. He has been engaged in research and teaching on Indian cultural heritage with specific reference to Indian antiquarian legislation in particular. On behalf of the history enthusiast group and on my personal behalf, I thank him immensely for today enlightening us on the scenario of legislation in heritage sector in India. I thank Manali for welcoming Patilji and to Nidhi for introducing him to the attendees. I also thank the audience, especially to the students and research scholars as well. Thank you very much.
See you sometime.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank
Yes.
you.
See you. The upcoming lecture is at 7 p.m. today. It is by Professor Alok Tripathi sir on historiography of the Harappan civilization. So I request all the participants to kindly join back at 7. We are signing off here. Thank you all very much.
Very sweet.